understanding, and you can implement in your real life situations, right? Like either you in your research work or in your job or in whatever way. Until unless you have no expertise, you will not be able to utilize it. It will be like another, that workshop. Like you might have done hundreds of workshops in your life. But I'll suggest if you focus on R and you want to become a sincere data scientist, so do that program, step by step process. So next week join that and fill the form. Fill the form. Most probably tomorrow you will be have the Zoom link also of that program, and the course, it's compulsory to pay the course fee, which is 2,000 rupees in Indian currency, and in dollar it will be around $30. So you pay it and then you will be able to join on Monday. It will be not like free class, which we are, that doing it for the basic course. I hope all of you enjoyed the R basic program, and that's why you all are, intact for 6 days. As you all know that then starting more than many people join, but slowly, that they understand that this is not my cup of tea. So they leave the program. There could be many reasons for that. Sometimes that they don't understand. They just came with the curiosity that what is data science, because there's a keywords called data science is everywhere now. So they just come to check that what is going on in this world. So they come and they suddenly realize that no, this is not cup of my, and that this is not my cup of tea. So they leave the program. But those who are sincere, they might miss the classes, but they check the recording sessions, and they are registered with paid program. So they are in the job. So they ask their questions in offline mode with us, and they are also registered, and they watch the recorded sessions, right? So that's the sincere students or sincere participants, I can say. In similar way for our advanced also, our intermediate also, I'll suggest you guys join. That is again our knowledge. I mean that I'm sure that in the basic program we have seen that how easily you have grabbed these 6 days, and you must have seen that the first day I said that you are nowhere now. Now you're feeling somewhere that okay, I know something. You are explored the system now, the environment of R, how it works. So take forward step. Don't stuck with one place. You know that it says that you should keep flowing. Don't stuck one place. You learn that now and go for next level. We are saying that in that in India, that when there is a water is stuck in one place, it gets rotten. It gets spoiled. But when you keep flowing, you are always fresh, like river. So keep flowing. Some hurdles will come, no problem. You will be cross that with the help of Dr. Parman. So go for R2, R3, R4. That's our main intention. Our main intention that you learn that. And the course fees is very nominal. We are not charging like 50,000, 1 lakh rupees like others. That we have already waived that course fees just because of the course fees was the same like 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 before. But due to pandemic, we have waived it off. We just kept it very small to run the operation. So I kindly request all of you join and get benefited. I believe that from next month you might don't get these offers because the course will be get they're on the same place as it was before, because we are planning to stop the free sessions and that waivers from October onwards. So maybe first week of October we might have this waiver gone. So take the benefit until you have this, offers. That's all from my side. The entire course, that for R to become expert, I believe that it's almost 2 months program. 2 to 3 months you have to regressively you have to work on it. So we have kept it in the small part because many times it happened that we have seen that one person is that they are in the job, so they are not able to make a 2 months course at a time. So they just do the 10 days program and they back to job, and then when there is again repetitive of that course, they join that program. So we have kept it very, that user friendly, you can say. R1 to R5. R1 is a basic program, R2 is intermediate program, R3, R4 is advanced program, R5 is a specialty, you can say that, something like that. So R1 to R5. All right. So I'll suggest all of you join the R2 program. Have any question queries for that? Please don't forget to that call us, mail us. We will be here to support you, all of you. Especially all the participants, like that I see that you are so consistent. Isthar, Atanu, Akash, Mohammad Sadiq, Nihar, Romyars, Shailaji, Akash, Shreya, Arnav, Ishita, Prashant, Urmi, Sandeep, Rahul, Prakhar. So all of you, those are name I have said, you guys are very sincere. You are continually, that giving your effort. So take the advantage, right? Have any concern, financial or anything, mail us. We might try to help you. Okay. Over to you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thanks. Thanks, Mukherjee.
Yeah, there's one question, sir. Just a second. Sir, after the course recording, will you still be present, right? See, the course recording will be available for at least for 1 more month. You can download it from YouTube if you want. You just keep it in the local system. You can download. You can download it through. I think Parmar sir will tell you how to download it. There is a YouTube downloader link. You just go there and just download that video for your reference. And in case if you miss it also, don't worry. You just contact us. We'll try to share it. Other videos of other program, because every week we have some new programs coming, so we'll share you. The knowledge will be shared to you. Don't worry. This relationship doesn't end after this course. It start. I'll say that start, because we will be lifelong in the relationship. So you ask any time when you have problem. We might have some options, that where we find that okay, some job offers, some other conferences, or maybe co-teaching or something like that. You never know. So this relationship keep going on, right? Sir, over to you.
Okay, sir. Thanks, Mukherjee. So let's continue today's session. Today's session chapter is I explain you first. Just a moment. Let me share my screen with you. And we start the app. And today we are going to start one our decision making. Okay, decision making is an important aspect in any programming language. It helps to take a different path in the code based on the dynamic results. Okay, this helps a lot in process automation kind of stuff. We are at some point in the process, there could be multiple separate paths, and the state that at that point decides to path to be taken. Okay, so we use some conditional statements over there. If conditions, so if condition, if else condition, switch, and if else condition, like this we use in R. And if you see the R decision making, if statement, else statement, else if statement, switch loops, repeat loops, while loop, for loop, loop control statements, and break statement in the next statement. These all we will cover in this session. First, in decision making, you see this structure requires the programmer to specify one or more conditions to be evaluated or tested by the program, along with the statement or statements to be executed if the conditions is determined to be true. and optionally other statement to be executed if the condition is determined to be false. So suppose we are putting one condition here, and if it is satisfied, you know, it is executed, then if the condition is true, the conditional code will be run. And if it is not satisfied, if it is not true, this condition is not true for a particular thing, so the condition is false and it will be out from that program. So first we see if statement. So keyword if tells compiler that this is a decision control instruction, and the condition following the keyword is if is always enclosed within a pair of parentheses. If the condition is true, the statement gets executed. If condition is false, then the statement does not get executed. So I will show you first this practically so you could better understand. Just you keep this picture. We start here, then we put the condition. If the condition is false, it will go and stop. Okay, it does not execute. And if the condition is true, so then it will go to the body and then it will process and come out. So I will show you with R first, then we will see some other things one by one. And we work in R, then we see in the PPT and work in R. In this way we have to go here. So here in the script, I have also written everything. And the PPT you will also get with the study material and this script. So first I explain you. I'm taking one new, and here what I am doing. We will study the if statements. Suppose I am writing x is equal to 5. Okay, I delete everything from here and I also clean it, and I just keep it here up to now. So, and I run this. So x is 5. Now I am putting one condition, if, and then you have to get a round bracket. If x is greater than 0, then we have to use the, after this round bracket, we have to use the curly bracket, and then we have to use enter. And the indentation is very important here. And here I will write that print and it is positive. So I will run it. 5, I know that x is 5, and I am using this condition for this. I want to see what is it. So it is positive. So it is giving. If I put here 0 and I run this, now x is 0, and I run this condition again. So you will see I will not get any output because I have not mentioned everything. So as I have shown you, the condition is, if the condition is true, it will go through the body and it will print it. In the body, we have given the command print, so it is printing. If the condition is false, then it is not going in the body. It is the insert. It is the next if else. It is, if the condition is false, it will go to out, and it will go. It will not give us any whatever the command we have given in the body. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. So now what I am doing, I will use the else condition here. Again, I am doing one more. If x is greater than 0 and print it is positive, and else I write only. With else we don't have to use the round bracket because we are not using, whenever you use the if, then I have to use the round bracket. Otherwise you don't have to use. Here we are using only else. So we'll just use the curly bracket, and I will write print it is not positive. So I know that x is 0. If I run this, so I will get it is not positive, because it is if x is greater than 0, then I will get that is positive. If I write my negative something, x is equal to -2, and I run this, it will get it is not positive. If I write 2 only, which is the positive now, and run 2, and I run this statement, I will get it is positive. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Is this second one? Sorry, it is the second one. I will show you. If else, if else. So else body, it will go to the else condition, and then it will give the output. Okay, this is our if body, and it is the else body. Does that clear to all in this figure? Okay. Now the third one, there are the else if condition we are taking. This is the first one, that is the if, and then else if we are taking, and here we have the condition 2. Then this condition 2, it checked it and it is satisfied, then it will go to the if condition is true, then if body, its body, if the condition 2 is also else if, so there is also if body, so it will go here and give us the output. Otherwise this condition is not satisfied, it will go to the else body, then it will give the output. So I will show you, you could practically, you could better understand. If x is greater than 0, print positive. Else if here it is if, you know that, else if there is if, we have to put the condition again. X is, sorry, capital X I have taken, small x I have to take, smaller than 0. So print it is negative. Okay. And else, in else I don't have to put any condition, I just write the body, print it is neither negative nor positive. Okay. So you know that x is 2, but if I run this, so I am getting it is positive. If I put x negative number any, sorry, I will just run this first. Oh, x is negative, and I run this, so I will get it is negative. If I put here 0, and I run this, that is neither negative nor positive. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Is there any doubt? You could ask me.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Is there no any doubt about it? Okay. This is also in the script which I will share. It is we have taken very big, little big syntax over there, but for understanding that was very small. I have explained you. The same thing is here, but we have taken to A and B. A is greater than B and C is one operation A minus B, and the print condition A is greater than B is true, and the print paste difference between A and B, so it will give the difference from here. So this I have given, so you do practice with this. Okay. I have given for each and every. The detail is also there. Now the nested if statement. So when we have an if else block as an statement within an if block, or optionally within an else block, then it is called as nested if else statement when an if condition is true, and then following child is condition is validated. If the condition is wrong, else the statement is executed. This happens within parent if condition. There is a parent-child relationship in this the nested. If parent if condition is false, then else block is executed, which also may contain child if else statement. So here is a start. There is a condition. If it is true, it will go here. If it is false, it will go here. If it is true, body of if. Now another condition is there. Nested condition inside that another condition, and if it is true, body of if, it will go, or false, body of else. Here also the body of else, if it is the condition false, we get the body of else, and there is a nested condition, and if it is true, then it is false. So in this way, I will show you, explain you practically, so you will better understand this. You see the syntax I have written here. If parent condition is true, and there is another, in the curly bracket, I have not written any statement. I have written one condition more. There is a nested, basically. If child condition 1 is true. So it is the child condition, it is the parent condition. And the executed this statement. And else, execute this statement. Else, if the child condition 2 is true, there are two child condition we have. Executed this statement, else this, execute this statement. So I will explain you this. So look at this properly. A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 11. So if A equal to 10 and B equal to 10, so the parent condition is A equal to 10 and child one condition is B is equal to 10. So print A equal to 10 and B equal to 10 if these two conditions satisfied. Else it will write A 10 and B 11, which I have given. Okay. Else, if this condition is not satisfied, A equal to 11 if we have, so print A 11 and B 10. Okay. Else, print A 11 B 11. So I will show you. I run this first, and I run this also. A 10 B 11 we have. Now I put this, and I run this, and I run this. You have to do little bit practice so you could do it better way. So if A is 11 and print A 11 B 10, if A is 11, but here B we have taken 11, so or as A 11 B 11, so A is 11, print A 11 B 10. Okay, else A 11 B. So it is not giving me the right one. If I do here 10, let's see what happens. A11, B10. A11, B10. Okay. Now A11, B11, if I put, what it should be? It's not giving me the proper A11, B11. I want this condition, this response I want. So what is the mistake here? A10, B10, and B is equal to 10, then print. Okay. Else A10 and B11. Okay. Okay. Else if A equal to 11, then print A11, B10. Else A equal to 11. If A is not equal to 11, if A is not equal to 11, then it will, we have to write some more. That's okay. In else there should be one more if statement. Yeah, here it could be. We could write here, but we have not taken there only the one statement we are taking. Child condition 2. So, child 2 condition 2 we have taken here, the if statement and else. And this is this and this. These two are the child. These both are the child, and their else is there. Understand, Prakhar? If A is 11, then it will give the A11 B10. It does not matter. It does not matter what you are writing over here. It's just for understanding. Hypothetically, I have taken this. And if there is, it is A is not 11. If A is 10, then it will follow this. If A is 11, it will follow this. And if A is not 11 or not 10, then what will happen? So I have put here 12. So we will get this one. Okay, you could write anything here, not this one. Print, you could write anything. Now, you could write that A is not 11. A is neither 10 or nor 11. Better for a better understanding, if I print something like different way here, if A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 10, then print this. So we could write that it is okay. Here we could write it A is 10 and B is 10. And B both is 10. We could write in the word also. No? Print A and B both are 10. We could write that. A and B both are 10. No? In this way. If otherwise, else, if A is not 10, A is not 10. We are talking about B first, the child. If B is not 10, then A is 10, but B is not 10. A is 10, but B is not 10. Does that make sense? In this way, we could write this. So if I write here 10 and B is not 10, and I run this, and I run this, A is 10, but B is not 10. And if I write here also 10, and I run this, then I run this, so A and B both are 10. Does that make sense to you? So yeah. Now I will change here more. If A is 11, A is not 10. A is not 10. If A is 11, so we could write that A is 11 and B is 10. B is equal to 10, then if A is 10, B is 10, we will get here. But A is 11 and B is 10. We are not changing the B. A is 11 I write and B I keep 10. Then we see what we get. A is 11, B is 10. A is 10, but B is not 10. So A is 11 and print what is there? A is 11. What prefer instead of A equal to 11? A equal to 11. There should be B equal to 10 because it's the child condition. No? We could take that condition, child condition is true. B equal to 10. I do it. A is 11, B is 10. Okay, correct. And okay, it happens sometimes. It is the conditional, basically two conditions we have given. And here, if I take A we have taken and print A is 11, else if otherwise B is not 10, B we are putting 11. So A is 11 and B is also 11. We could write this thing. B condition is the child condition we have put and A we have taken the main condition. No, it's okay. So in this way, we could perform this nested loop and the child condition, because I have changes there A, and we should have the child condition B. The A condition, which is the main condition, parent condition, we could not put here, I know that. But I forget that there is a, okay. Does that make sense to everyone? Now,
No, sir, can you,
yes,
can you repeat it? Yes? I did not get it, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I will repeat it. Previous conditions you have understand that if statement, else statement, all three, greater, smaller than 0, greater than, that you understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I understood that.
Okay. It is the nested. In the one loop, we are giving another loop inside. Sorry, not the loop. In the one statement, if statement, we are putting another if statement. You know that it is our first if statement, or we are putting another if statement inside that. Okay. And if this execute, otherwise this condition, this both condition fulfill, then okay, this will execute. Otherwise, if the one of the condition will not fulfill, then it will execute this. And this condition will, this child condition will not execute, it will execute this. Okay.
Yes,
As
sir.
if this condition is not fulfilled, parent condition, then it will go to else here. Okay. Does that make sense to you? There are two conditions. I explain you through that. Just a moment. If this condition is satisfied, then it will follow this. And it will be in this block. So if child condition 1 is true, there is another condition statement. If this is true, then it will execute this statement. Understand?
Yes, sir.
If it is not satisfied, this condition, child condition is not satisfied, then it will execute this one. Okay? Understand?
Yes, sir. Sir, if and else is for condition 1. Am I right, sir?
What? Yeah. But if this condition is not satisfied, if this condition is not satisfied, parent condition, this one, then it will go here. Does that make sense to you now?
Yes, sir. If the condition, parent condition is satisfied, it will be condition 1. If it is not satisfied, it will be condition 2.
Yeah. Okay. If the parent condition is not satisfied, then we will go to here in the downward. I just fill in this. We will go here in the second child condition. There. If the parent condition and the second child condition, first parent condition has not been satisfied, then it came to the second child condition, and then it will work in this. Okay, as I explained you that if A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 10, then we will write A and B both are 10. Now B is not 10, but A is satisfied. B is not 10, A is satisfied. So A is 10, but B is not 10. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
If this condition is not satisfied, A is not equal to 10, then it will go to this else statement. Okay?
Yes, sir.
If A is not equal to 10, but B is equal to 10. If B is equal, here another child condition, B is equal to 10, just like that. But A is not 10. So you could write that A is not 10, but B is 10. Okay? Here instead of 11, we could write that A is not 10. Write in this way. Not 10, but B is 10. Okay. If the B is also not 10, B is also not 10. So A is not 10 and B is also not 10. A and B both are not 10. We could write that. And B both are not 10. We could write this thing. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So if I write here 11, 11. So A is not 10 and B is not 10. So what should come? This one. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And B both are not 10. And I will show you. I take this down a little bit. There we have to see the only response. No? If I take A 10, so this parent condition is satisfied. B is not satisfied. So what should come? A is 10, but B is not 10. This should be the next one. So,
yes,
A is 10, but B is not 10. Does that make sense to you? Now clear? One more thing.
clear, sir.
A is 10 and B is also 10. Then A and B both are 10 should be there. Okay. First condition. And for this, B is 10, but A is something else. Then which condition should pass? What should we print now? This one, A is not 10, B is 10. Okay? Because A
Yes,
is not
sir.
10, B is 10. So we should have this output. A is not 10, B is 10. Does that make sense to you now?
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We could convert them in negative and positive for better understanding. Okay? Now, we see the switch statement. In this switch function, expression is matched to a list of cases. If a match is found, then it prints that case value. No default case is available here. If no case is matched, it outputs nil. So the start the switch expression we write, and the case 1, here the statement case 2, the statement case 3, whatever we write, it will use that response. It is the switch statement. So I am writing here the expression, the syntax is expression, case 1, case 2, case 3 up to case n. Expression in terms of index value. We know that the index value I am writing 2, and this is my expression 1, 2, 3, 4, case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4. So I am asking about this. You will see what response I will get. I am getting 2 as per the index. If I write here 4, I will get 4. Does that make sense to you? And now expression in terms of string value. So I am asking about in the switch GFG3. So GFG3 is here. Its value is gigs2, or what we could write anything. Okay. So if I run this and I print, so I will get this one. Okay. We could do it like I write here Indore. I write here MP. MP. Sorry. And here I write the capital of MP is Bhopal. Here I write UP. The capital is Lucknow. Gujarat, Gandhinagar. And if here I ask about the UP, so you will see what will be the response of this. I run this and I print it. UP I have written a P in small. Here you see the case sensitive language, the P is capital, so it will give me the null response. If I write here capital P, then it will give me Lucknow. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Okay. So in this way, we could do it. This is our switch. And then we see loop statement in R. These were the if statement, and these were. Now we see the loops in R. First is the repeat loop. Okay, so I will explain you the repeat loop here. First we see the technical persons may know about the loop. Non-technical does not know about the loops. I explain loop statement in R. There may be a situation when you need to execute a block of code several times, several number of times. In general, statements are executed sequentially. The first statement in a function is executed first, followed by second, and so on in this way. Programming languages provide various control structures that allow for more complicated execution paths. Loop statements are used to execute the block of code repeatedly, for a specified number of times or until it meets a specified condition. Loop statements are very useful to iterate over collection, list of items, or perform a task multiple times. We have following loop statements are available. A repeat loop executes a sequence of statements multiple times and abbreviates the code that manages the loop variable. Second is the while loop, repeats a statement or a group of statements while a given condition is true. It tests the condition before executing the loop body. Okay. For loop, like a while statement, except that it tests the condition at the end of the loop body. Okay. So I will explain you one by one. First is the repeat loop. We will see. Loop statement in R, how does it work? Is the general for the R loop, the repeat, while, and for. So control loop, we have this. The condition, if the condition is false, then it will go out. And if the condition is true, then statements and it will be in the loop until it will not satisfy, it will run and the condition will decline, then it will out from that loop. So that is the basic concept of the loop. Loop control statements change execution. There is a control statement in the loop by which we could control the loop. So loop execution from its normal sequence. When execution leaves the scope, all automatic objects that were created in that scope are destroyed. Or suppose the following control statement. One is the break statement. Second is the next statement. Terminates the loop statement, transfer execution to the statement immediately following the loop. Okay, it is the break it. And the next statement simulates the behavior of OR switch. Okay. So first we see the break statement. First we see some loop, then we study about the break statement. So repeat loop, I will say the repeat, then the commands, if condition, and break. Okay. So here you see I am writing hello world, result hello world, and I is 3, the position starts with third, and repeat loop I am using, and the print result is this one, print will this, and I plus 1 is the updation expression. This is the updation expression. This is the text expression. Okay. So you know that the updation expression I plus 1. So 3, then 3 plus 1, then 3 plus 1, 4, and 4 plus 1, and then 5 and 5 plus 1. In this way, it will work. And if I is greater than 5, break. So I will run it first, and I run this repeat loop. You see, I am getting hello world 3 times because I started from 3.
I is equal to 3.
Okay, so 3, 4, and 5. If it is more than 5, it will break. If I is greater than 5, it will break. If I write here 1 instead of 3, what will happen? Now what will happen? How many
It
times?
will run 1 time.
Now how many times it will come? Hello world. I am putting
1 time.
I1.
1 time.
1 time. No. It will come 5 times. No? 5 times. Correct. Because I1. So first time, then I1 plus 1 second time, third time, 4 times, 5 times. Okay. If I write 2, then it will start from second time. Okay. So this is the repeat. How many times you would like to repeat it? Here also I am given 1. I's result is 1 and I is equal to 3. So, and here also the break condition is greater than 5 I am writing. See the I plus 1 result plus 1. Okay. So I will show you this. One, two, three. Curly brackets we could do it proper way. Because I have written for your understanding that this is the updation expression, this is the breaking condition. So the curly bracket, this will start here, and the end point and the start point you could see here, and this one is here. Okay, so you could match it here. This way, right? It's not compact, and you could run it. It is only once giving. Why? Okay, we have to run it again. Then we could, because I has changed now. I has changed. Second time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So result is 1, and 1 plus 1, 2, then 3. And if I write here 1, then what happens? You see? We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Result is 1 and I is 1. So first the what we are printing, we are print the result. We'll print the result first. Repeat. So we are printing this one. Then updation expression 1 plus 1, 2. And the result is result plus 1. So result what we have got 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2 now. So result will be 2. I is also parallelly working. If I is greater than 5, it will break. Okay. So I is working for this purpose. If it is greater than, so we have put the result also and the
I is basically the counter here.
count
Right.
counting for the position. Now second is the while loop. I explained the while loop to you. So break condition, now I think you understand better. The conditional code, if condition is true, then we will go, the condition is true, then we will go in this way. And when we get the break, then it will go. It will stop that loop. And here you see the next statement I will tell you with some other loop. And here the repeat loop we see. Repeat loop, the previous to repeat loop statement, previous to repeat loop, we have the block of statement, and then the breaking condition. If it is false, then it will go here. If it is the true breaking condition, then it will finish. The repeat loop executes a block of code repeatedly until it meets an explicit condition to break and exit the loop. Repeat loop construct don't have any conditional check over iterations. Thus, it is mandatory to define an explicit condition with a break statement inside loop body, which allows program to exit the loop. Otherwise, it will result into infinite loop. It will work if you don't put a proper breaking condition. Then it will use your RAM. So while text expression, statement update expression, and in this way. So we are result hello world and I won, the same thing I have taken here. While I is smaller than 6, I compact it first to better understand that. This is the updation expression I plus 1. And while I is smaller than 6. So if I run this and I run this while loop, so you'll see. So the hello world, hello world, hello world. So this is the one, the first, it is giving me in this way, row wise. And here also the result 1 plus 1 I have written and that is 1. I have to again run this because I may be changed. I run this again. So here I am getting the numbers. I have used the number here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of that. Okay, so result is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do some practice with this, it is better. And the for loop, which is being mostly used. While loop, you have seen the Boolean expression true and false, and it work on that way. If that statement is true, while loop, then it will go in loop. Otherwise, it will go out. If this Boolean expression is not satisfied, it is false, then it will go here. I will tell you some little bit about the. Some may have confusion why we are using the while loop instead of. So control falls into the while loop. The flow jumps to condition. Condition is tested. So these all things, the condition yields true, the flow goes into the body. If the condition yield false, the flow goes out the loop. The statements inside the body of the loop get executed. Updation takes place. Control flows back to step 2. The while loop has ended and the flow has gone outside in this way. Important points about the while loop I have written here. It seems to be that while loop will run forever, but it is not true. Condition is provided to stop it. Okay. When the conditions is tested and the result is false, then loop is terminated. And when the tested result is true, then loop will continue its execution. So this is all about the while loop. And here the for loop. So is next element available in the vector? It is not a Boolean, so it will go. The next element, if you get, it will run, and if you not get that element, then it will go out of that. So the for loop takes a list of collection of data or the data frame, the vector, the matrix, or anything that provides an iterator, and iterator through and its element one at a time in sequence. It in entry control loop. So in this loop, the test condition is tested first, then the body of the loop is executed. The loop body would not be executed if the first condition is false. Okay, so I will show you this. So variable in vector and the statement is there. Okay, for loop. Suppose I am writing that I in 1:4, the 4 number I am taking, and I want to know, I want to print the I square. So if I run this, so you will see, I will get the square of 1, the square of 4, and the square of 3, and the square of 2, and the square of 3, and the square of 4. So I 1:4. Okay. If I put a vector outside, create a vector outside, this vector I have created, and I just want to print I in X. I in X. I is the position, the first position, second position, third position, and fourth position. Print I. So it will just print this in this manner. Okay. If I print X only, then I will get in this way. And then I pass the loop, then it will print 1 by 1, 1 by 1. I could do, if I want, square of this. So I will get this. The square of -8 is 64, square of 9 is 81, square of 11 is 121, square of 45 is 2025 in this way. And nested loop is also there. I in 1:3, and for j in 1:i, the print ij. So you could do it in this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 3, 6, 9. So you could count that 1:3, and we make one that contingency table. Then we could find that what is this, why is this sequence particular. Okay, we could do that. The jump statement I have explained, the break in the next. So we see in the for loop this jump statement. So So I have written the vector inside here. I could take this vector outside also. Okay. And then I put that name of vector here. No problem. Both will. So for the break in the next condition, we require the if statement. So if I equal to 0 break. And we want the print I inside the loop. This is the inside the loop. Or this outside print outside loop, it is the print I have written outside the loop. It does not affect on this loop. Okay. So I run this. So I am getting 3, 6, 23, 19, then 0. So it will, I have break given I equal to 0. So if it is equal to 0, the value of this position, any position is equal to 0, then it will break. If I write, this is the outside loop. So the print is not in this loop. Print is outside the loop. So it does not affect on the next statement. What I am doing here, I am writing the next. So what it will do, there will not be much change. Instead of break, I have just written the next. So I will show you that. So it will not print the 0, but it will print the 21. Next one it will print. So it is next. In the break, it will break on that particular place. Okay. And it will not print the elements after that value where we have break it. Okay. But in next, it will only not print that particular value, and later on it will print the value whatever. Does that make sense to everyone? The control statement, break, and whatever. Next.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You do some practice with this, so you could understand better. The first time, it is sometimes not to be able to understand. Esther, are you getting it or not? Yeah.
Yes, sir, I'm getting it.
Okay.
I'm clear, sir. Yes.
Okay. Because I have taken very simple example. Now we come to the function. Okay, we have the functions in R. A function is a block of organized, and first I explain you about the function. A function is a block of organized and reusable code that is used to perform a specific task in a program again and again. Yeah. A function is created by using the keyword function. Type of function, if we see, there are mainly 3 types of functions in R programming. One is the primitive function, second is the infix function, and third is the replacement function. Somebody asked me in the previous class, what is %, %, we are using as a function. That is the infix function. Infix function means the prefix. Most of the functions are the prefix function. Prefix means the before the arguments it comes. And the infix function, the one argument come before it and the one after it. Okay, like the M1, if we multiply if we addition the 2 number A plus B, so plus is the infix function of the summation. Does that make sense to everyone? And the third one is the replacement function. The various component parts of the function are the function name, arguments, function body, return values. So it is the actual name of the function. It is stored in our environment as an object with this name and a function name, whatever the function name you write, the object name. Arguments, an argument is a placeholder. Whenever a function is invoked, a value is passed to the argument. They are optional. That is, function may contain no arguments. Okay. Also, argument can have default values. So I will explain you the argument and required argument, default argument. This all we will study. And the function body, it contains all the set of statements that defines what actually the function does. So suppose we are going to make a function for the circumference of circle. So whatever the formula expression we will write there, that would be a statement. Return values with the circumference, what we are writing. So return values, it is the values that function returns after the successful execution of the task. In more general, it is the last expression in the function body to be evaluated. Okay. So there are two part of function. One is the creation of function creating a function. Second is the calling a function, creating a function and calling a function. So we will see these two things later on when we do the practical. So as I explained the infix function, you know that the percent remainder operator, percent oblique percent is the integer division, percent asterisk percent the matrix multiplication, percent o percent is the outer product, percent x percent is the Kronecker product, and the percent in percent the matching operator. So this we have studied. Okay. Now we do on R everything. If I ask about the sum function, sum is a function, or sum is a inbuilt function. Okay, it is a primitive or the inbuilt function, you could say. Type of sum, if I put, so it is a built-in function. Sum is a built-in function. This left square bracket, if I ask, so it is a character basically. It is not a function, it is a character. Now I want to know the print the names of available primitive functions, whatever. In the primitive function, we have infix function also in our R console and the run line. So we could write this code, names, methods, colon, then dot basic function list. So I will get this list of the functions. These are the functions. In R, I have inbuilt function. Okay. Sum is there, minimum, maximum is dot matrix. This we have studied, the dimension name, log2, 10. These are functions. Mode is not for that mode. MOD is other thing. This is the R basic function. This length we could measure the length. Okay. These are all functions. We are studying this. Plus is also a function. Plus is an infix function. Okay. So suppose I have this vector and I want to know the mean of this. So mean is an inbuilt function I will use on this vector, then I will get the mean easily. It is an inbuilt function. Infix functions, you could create your own infix function also. As we have seen the percent, asterisk percent, we have seen. Infix functions are those functions in which the function's name comes in between. Its argument and has to have two arguments. One is the before and the one is the later. Create two argument function that gives greater of two numbers and bind it to the name that starts and ends with percent. So always whenever I am making this function name, I am giving percent greater than percent is the function name I am going to give. And the function A, B. If A is greater than B, then print A. As if B is greater than A, then print B as print equal. So this is my function I am creating. And I run this function. Okay, percent greater percent. And if I write the 5% greater percent 7. So A is smaller than B. The B is greater than A. So I will get this print B. So it will print 7. So if I run this, so it will print 7. If I am writing 2300 greater than 67, so it will print 2300. If both are equal, and I run this, so it is equal. So does that make sense to everyone? You could yourself create this sort of function. So always keep in some quotes when you put the two percentage sign, and whatever name you want to put inside, you could put it. So it is
in this example, percent is greater percent is the function name.
Yeah, it is percent function name, or it is always we have to the one here, and it is for the two only. No? Two arguments we should have only. Okay. Now we see the normal functions. I am making a function for the cube. So here for these functions, the function name, which I explained earlier in the PPT, this would be before this equal, and the function is our keyword. and the argument 1, argument 2, whatever argument you want, you could take there. So here I am making a function for the cube. Okay. So function, I am not giving any argument, without argument. And when I give the without argument, I have to apply some loop inside that. For I in 1 into 10, print I cube. So if I run this, so this function I have created, it is the function creation. So in the function creation, you will get the just run that and the print the function only. It will not give us the any output. So we have to call the function, calling a function cube, because there is no argument here. And I have not written any argument in this bracket. So if I call this, so I will get this loop I have what I have written in that function. Okay. If I write something, see what happens. Unused arguments. Now we are going to make a function for the circumference of circle. We already all know about the formula of circumference of circle. This is the 2 pi r. R is the radius, only the one variable we get over there. So I am making a function CIR, that is the circumference of circle. Function x is my variable, and the formula for this is the 2 pi x. X is here, what the variable we are taking. The print c. C is this one. Okay. I just keep it a capital C. I have written there. So I run this, and if I give the radius 1, then you will see I will get 6.28. If I give the radius 5, sorry, so I will get 31.41. Does that make sense to you? Now, this is the required argument. You have to write the argument. If you don't write the argument inside, you will not get any output. It will give you an error. So this argument is very compulsory to write. Does that make sense to everyone? Now I am making one function for area of rectangle. Area of rectangle, we know that there are 2 arguments, length and breadth. So one argument I am required argument, other I am putting as a default argument. If you don't write the second value, it will take 7 as default. Does that make sense to everyone? I have mentioned here y is equal to 7. And area is equal to x into y. These 2 variables multiplication. The product a return I will want a. So if I write, if I don't write any argument, I write only one argument. So it will take that argument as x, length. And the breadth will be default 7. So if I writing only 2, then I will get 2 into 7, 14 area I will get. If I write comma 5, so it will not take 7. Now it will take 5. Okay, 2 5s are 10. I will get the area 10. Does that make sense to everyone? This is the default argument. You just have to write the one argument. Okay. Now the next we see the keyword arguments. Sometimes we have so many arguments, so we don't know the position of the argument, the sequence of the argument, what we have to write first and what we have to write later on. So here you see the length, width and height. We are going to find out the lateral surface area, the area of the walls only, not the roof and floor. So it is the 2 into length plus width into height. This is our the lateral surface area. And I run this. So I don't know, the length is first and the width is second. So I will write with the keyword. I know that the length is there. So I will write the length equal to 7, or I could write in any sequence, any order. But it is along with the keyword. So it will give me the always the correct. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. So I run this first. I have run it already. I do it. It is 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you see the length plus width. So length plus width, 7 plus 6 is 13. 13 into 9 into 2. So you will get 2, 3, 4. Okay. Arbitrary functions I have tried to create, but it is not creating here in R. I tried it. I searched it also. Arbitrary function we create in Python. Okay, some more functions I will explain you. Somebody asked me about the factorial function. Factorial function is already in R. Okay, it is already in R. If you want to know the factorial of something, there is a factorial function. You could apply that. Factorial function is in R. You want to know the factorial or 5, so it will be 120. You will get. So, but in spite of that, I have created that function. So everybody knows about the factorial. If somebody don't know, please could ask me. Factorial, what does it mean by? Everybody knows it.
So please discuss it again. I think I forgot it.
Hello. Yeah. Factorial. Factorial. Everybody knows about the factorial. Okay. Acha, Rahul, you don't know.
Please discuss it again, sir.
Okay. So if I write the factorial 3, it means 3 into 2 into 1. If I write the factorial 5, it is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So it is 6, it is 120. Does that make sense to you? Factorial 1 is 1 and factorial 0 is also 1. Okay, Rahul? So what we have to make a formula for that, the factorial. I am making the fact as the name of my function n. If n equal to 1 and n equal to 0, return 1. You know that the n1 factorial 1 is 1. Okay. And the factorial 0 is also 1. So if I get the n1 and the n0, then I will get the 1. Else return n into factorial n minus 1. So if I have to find out the factorial value of, I just remove this. Again, I write. If I have to find out the factorial 5. So I could write the factorial 5 in this way. 5 into factorial 4. Factorial n into factorial n minus 1. It is n. It is basically the factorial n. So n I am taking out from the factorial and 1 less than that I am putting in the factorial. Does that make sense to everyone? I could do in this way. Then 4 into factorial 3. 5 into 4 into 3 into factorial 2. 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into factorial 1. So what will happen? It will n into factorial n minus 1. It will go in this way first. And then factorial 4, it will again go factorial 4 into factorial 3. And this separated. Here again it will go factorial 3 into factorial 2. Then again it will go 2 into factorial. When it will get the factorial 1, it will equal to 1 now. There will be no factorial now because the n is equal to 1. So it is equal to, return give me the 1. Does that make sense to everyone? So it is working in this way and the result is the fact n. I will get the fact n, print result. So I will show you how does it work. I run this and then I call the function for 0. Factorial 0 should be 0. Oh, sorry, should be 1, not 0. Factorial 0 is 1 and factorial 1 is also 1. And the factorial 5 should be 120. We have seen that. And factorial 10, you will see how much? It is like this. Does it make sense to everyone? If I want to know the factorial 100,
Yes, sir.
So I could get the factorial 100 also. Okay. So in this way, you could make so many functions. So today we have covered about this functions. Esther, have you got it? Today's session?
Yes, sir.
Eh?
I am clear about everything. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So today we have covered so many things in the decision making. We have covered that if statement, if else statement, and nesting of the if statement we understand, and we have seen the loops, different type of loops, the repeat and the while and the for loop, and then we have studied about the functions also. Okay, so it was very simple. I have made it very simple so you could understand better way. Okay, the very simple examples I have taken over here. Okay, so I think the Mr. Mukesh should be there for just a moment, and I will explain you the, if you want to know the next R2 course, I will explain you that. हेलो आ रहा है क्या? No. So R2 course, what we are going to perform here, I will explain you that first.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Just I am explaining them the course.
Yeah, course curriculum of R2, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just a moment. I search that banner. R2 I want. So I share this banner with you. So it is our R2 session, our intermediate. Topics to be covered, the data visualization we will cover with the ggplot2 and the R basics. So many visualizations we will learn over there, different sort of visualization. Then the data preparation means the feature engineering and feature selections we will learn here, the data preparation. And then the inferential analysis we study about the hypothesis testing, parametric, non-parametric test, reliability test, Cronbach alpha, etc. And finally, the factor analysis we will study here. So it is the 10-day session, alternate days, and after every unit you will get one assignment, okay, which you have to solve. I will share the assignment also for these sessions today for the univariate analysis and this our R foundation and our this decision making. 2 or 3 assignment you will get there in the folder, and you have to solve it so you could get some confidence over there. So this would be the course, the data visualization, data preparation in detail. If you want, I will explain you in detail also. So just a moment, I explain you the course in detail. Which is the R intermediate. So this is our intermediate. We understand the data visualization here, understanding the data manipulation and data preparation, calculate correlation, covariance with R, distinguish and work with different types of distribution with R. The different type of distribution means the probability distribution, whatever we have, the binomial, Poisson, and this all we will cover here. Estimate confidence intervals with R with the hypothesis testing. Perform hypothesis testing with R, understand difference between PCA and factor analysis. But we will cover only the factor analysis here. We will not cover the PCA. PCA we will cover the advanced course. Okay, I just tell you the little bit about the difference, but the factor analysis we will cover here complete. 10 days, 2 hours daily, online via Zoom. And the data visualization, we will study about the pie chart, bar plot, histogram, box plot, scatter plot with R base. And the Along with some other more plots, more type of plots we will learn with ggplot2 along with this. And the interactive visualization with SignAF, little bit I will explain how the SignAF work. Okay. The data preparation, treatment of missing values and outliers, how we treatment you the making dummy variable. It is the feature engineering of the linear logistic regression analysis, how we make the data, how we prepare the data, transformation of the data manipulation by grouping, separate, unite, gather, spread, etc. Somebody asked me yesterday about the time series, month wise, I want to know. So that is the grouping. So we'll see these all things in the data preparation. And then the inferential analysis, we study about the parametric test, t-test, ANOVA, chi-square, then the non-parametric with Coase, Mann, Whitney, Pascal, there is some other test also. Correlation, regression analysis, we will study little bit. Not the much more about the correlation, regression analysis. That would be, we read in that our R advanced. That is the predictive modeling. Principal component we are not taking here. We have removed it from this session. We have taken that in the R advanced because it was taking more time. We have the 10 days we have to cover. So we will cover the factor analysis. What is the factor, types of factor analysis, determine number of factor analysis versus component, principal component analysis. So we will cover here. We have excluded the PCA from this because it was taking more time. Okay. So this we will cover in our R intermediate. Okay. So if anybody has any query, any questions, could ask about the course. Yeah. Entropy we use in the decision making. No, decision tree. Sorry. R part. That would be on the decision tree. Entropy, gene index. That is the R3. Regression, logistic regression, linear regression, these all would be in the R3. ANOVA R2. ANOVA in R2, the next batch which is going to be started. ISITA. Inferential analysis. Okay. R intermediate, what we are going to use. After it, we will start the R3. After this, Monte Carlo simulation, I could explain you. I have done it, but it is not in our syllabus. Arnab, I'll give you the idea or the some script if I have. I could provide. Okay. It's over to you, Mukeshji.
Yeah, sir. So I think we are done with the overall all the information which we supposed to give the participants. And the certificate for this workshop will be delivered by tomorrow or on Monday. And if you don't receive by Monday, you can just mail us back that you have not received. So it will be delivered to your respected email through which you have registered and paid. So it will be sent to that mailbox. If you don't receive by Monday, then you contact us back. There is some more questions, sir. Check it out on chat box.
Yes, sir. ANN model, no? ANN model, artificial neural network. It is not we don't have these in our syllabus at present up to R4, R5. It will be later. The deep learning we are going to start another session where workshop we are going to start. There would be few sessions in the deep learning, image classifications and image recognition. So many image related models are there, 5 to 6. And then the chatbot is also there, how to create the chatbot from scratch. And this sort of things we will learn over there. RNN model, everything we will learn. It will start later on after 1 month, I think. Because there must be that much students for this particular course. After completing this basic, you could do that thing.
So the participants, if you really learn the something and you really enjoy the workshop, do feel to that we will be really appreciate that have a feedback. You can that write your feedback and that on email or WhatsApp group. And also, if that will be great if you make a video feedback, just that camera, still camera, that if you can just from your mobile also, that how did you find the workshop. If you really get benefited, make a small 30-second to 1 minute video about how did you find this program as a video feedback. Or you can also type it, and how did you find what the program. That will be very appreciable. So you can just send us those feedbacks. And that's all from our side. And let's meet on R2 on Monday. So those who are willing to join, please make sure that you registered first. Pay for the.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, everyone.
হাতে চলে আসবো না
4-4টা দাও যাবো 4-4টা দাও
Okay, thanks, everyone. We'll meet you back on Monday.
Thank you, sir, for such
Okay,
a nice, wonderful session.
Okay.
Let's. I'm that this participant really enjoyed the session, and I hope to have a much better feedback from them.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.